I woke up to some surprising news this morning. I actually thought my wife was joking when she told me she was sitting on the couch on the computer reading some news and she said David Bowie died. And it's so strange because not more than 2 or 3 days ago I was listening to an NPR piece talking about Black Star's new album, so he seemed still very current and vibrant in my mind. And I knew he was having health problems, and to be honest, it's a miracle someone who did so many drugs made it to 69, but at the same time, I don't pay attention to celebrity news, so I had no idea how bad his health problems actually were getting, and it seems so sudden. And it's one of those interesting things where it's a very different and unique sense of loss, I feel, when a celebrity dies who you were either a fan of their work or there's someone who was just very prominent in a period of your life. Because it's not a personal loss, it's not a deep loss, it's not something that you feel in the same way a friend dies, or even just someone, a family member of a friend, something like that. It's just an interesting, I think in a way it really hits you more because it shows a little bit more of your mortality, because an icon from a period of your life has passed on, and you are suddenly hit with that realization that that period of your life has passed on, and you're moving closer and closer to that same end. And that's, to me, why I think personally why when a certain celebrity dies, someone like Leonard Nimoy passed away, or even Michael Jackson passed away, and now David Bowie, it hits you in an odd way because of that. And it's, to me too, I think it was a little bit more of a shock because it made me think about how a lot of those icons from the late 70s through the late 90s, those TV shows and movies and books and games and things that really make up my idea of entertainment, my reality of entertainment surrounding me, those icons of my childhood and teenage years and 20s, and that I continue to bring with me as I get older, are slowly aging, retiring, dying off, and it's really, again, shows that that portion of your life is gone, it's going. And it hits me harder because I still today put in more DVDs and CDs and VHS even of stuff from that time period than I watch anything that is modern and recent. So I don't feel as far removed from those celebrities, those people, as reality would dictate. I still feel like, in my mind, when I picture someone like David Bowie, I picture him in the 80s or even late 70s. It's just a very surprising thing that, again, I think it hits us more when a celebrity dies in a different way than a close loss, because it's almost like a selfish way of loss, because you didn't know that person, you didn't know nothing about them really, you're just a fan of their art, and in some way it touched you and had some sort of meaning in your life without actually physically knowing the person, and you're more mourning the loss of a period of your life, of something that was important to you, than the loss of the actual person, I think. And I just wanted to talk for a minute or two about some of the things that were closest to me from David Bowie, who is someone who I really enjoyed his music throughout the years. I enjoyed the variety, as he's someone who, I think his performances, I think the music he produced went through so many transformations over the years that I think it's why he stayed so relevant for so long, why he's still relevant today, is because he kept changing and growing as an artist, and in the same way never losing respect for what came before it, never saying, forget about what I did before, this is the new me. It was just this continuous linear change throughout his life that was interesting and creative. And the three things that really stood out for me personally that I wanted to mention here, Ground Control to Major Tom was very important to me because it was the first thing of his I ever encountered. And it was surprising to me because when I first heard it, it was so different. And that's what attracted me at first to his music, and really getting into a lot of his early music. And because that was just something that was so original, I never heard anything like it before. And I got more into it through middle school and high school, through my friends Sarah and Alyssa, who are very big David Bowie fans. They love a lot of stuff from that same time period, but they got me to listen to a lot more, through their interest. And then, of course, another big one was the movie Labyrinth. one of my favorite movies of all time, a very iconic movie I still watch today. It's a movie my wife loves. I remember one of my close family friends, that's her favorite movie of all time. Still is to this day, I believe. And it's just something that I really watched over and over again growing up, and had most of that soundtrack memorized. And even just like we would watch on this old VHS player in our old van that we had going down to the beach. That was one of the movies that we frequently ended up putting in there to watch on the way to the beach. And even just a lot of my friends memorizing all the songs from that movie. It's such an iconic movie from my childhood, and he was such a huge part of that. And to me, in a way, the best part of that movie, really. So it was absolutely fabulous. And then the last thing was, as you know, obviously from this channel, that I really like video games, and I really like the Dreamcast. Well, one of my favorite Dreamcast games is Omicron the Nomad Soul, and he did the theme song for that game. He did a lot of work in the soundtrack, and it's just interesting where he was one of the more interesting people to help form my musical tastes. He was someone who was a big part of film in my childhood for me because of that iconic role, and then he even had a little bit of an influence in something in gaming. So he's definitely one of those few celebrities that permeated all these different aspects of what I would consider, for me, my favorite era of entertainment. So it's very sad news, very unexpected. Again, as I said, I still in many ways, as far as media, live in a time frame when people like that were alive and very vibrant, and it always hits me with this reality of what time it actually is. Of it's my own, like, it shows that I really am aging, that time has passed me by, and as much as I in some respects still live in this one time period, I also live in another. And it also just, I don't know, it's very sad news. I'm very sad to hear of David Bowie's passing, and he's someone who will always be remembered. He'll never be forgotten. He just created so much over the years, and just such a wonderful artistic talent that I think he really presented a little bit for everyone. Definitely just very sad news to wake up to.